Hello, it's Parm King, and I'm super excited to bring to you another guide to Curse of Strahd. This one is the Blue Water Inn in the village of Vallaki, and I've included a brand new encounter, a demonic possession, including an entire exorcism, all here in the Blue Water Inn, and I'm really excited to share that with you. But before we get started, a special thank you to all my Patreon. It is your support that allows me to put these detailed video guides together, including the PDF guides available to the Patreon members, as well as these Foundry Adventure modules. That's right, everything you see here, including the maps, the lighting, the rule tables, the special effects, the music, everything is available in a Foundry Adventure module that you can install right into Foundry and enjoy this adventure. And if you're interested, you can go ahead and visit patreon.com/ParmKing or click on the link in the description below. Another special shout out to DM Andy, who again makes these gorgeous battle maps that he allows us to use not only in the video, but also in our Foundry Adventure modules. If you like his battle maps, they're available in grid, non-grid, day, night, and weather effects. There's a link to DM Andy's Patreon page in the description down below. Now, let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about is the Blue Water Inn itself. Now, the Blue Water Inn is an important location. We have this beautiful static image. This is by James RPG Art. He has done a huge array of great artwork for Curse of Strahd. He also makes animated versions of these pictures. They're great for theater of the mind, or if you have a big screen TV or monitor at your tabletop, you can have these up there, kind of pull you into the scene. They're just magical. I really like them. There's a link to James RPG Art's Patreon in the link down below. Now, why is this inn so important? Well, this inn is your players or your party's home away from home. This inn is situated in the village of Vallaki, this central village of Barovia. When your players are traveling from east to west and west to east, this village is a prime key location. And having a place to stay, lock up your gear, using it as a base of operation makes it really important place. In addition, there are several things happening in or around this inn that is important. First of all, there's a strange character staying there named Rictavio, and we'll talk about him as we explore the inn. And he has some interesting ties to not only Barovia, but to Strahd himself. There's also a secret society of were-ravens that use the Blue Water Inn as their headquarters. We're going to learn about them as well. In addition, there are patrons coming and going, staying and eating in the tap room that can share interesting information to the quests that are happening in Vallaki, such as the murder of Yolanda from the stockyard, if you've watched that video, or the skull of St. Andrel that comes from the Church of St. Andrel. Chances are somebody that's involved with that might be eating in the tap room, and you might be willing to ask them some questions and solve those mysteries. And last but not least, it's a place to get some lore and some information from fellow villagers that might be drinking or eating here in the tavern. So let's talk a little bit about some of the cost here. There's 3 rooms. There's two bedrooms and a bunk room. The rooms that sleep 2 are 2 gold per night. They include soup and bread. The bunk room is per bed, 1 gold per night, or you can rent the whole bunk room for 4 gold. That includes soup and bread. And what's really nice about this is that you can have a party up to 8 players playing Curse of Strahd, and there's going to be a bed for each one of them with a footlocker. It makes it really nice for all sizes of parties. I really think that's a important caveat there, because we all are running between 3 to 7 or 8 players. I have 6 players in my campaign. It's just nice that they all have rooms to sleep in, or beds to sleep in. There's also a food and drink menu here: wolf steak, venison stew, egg and mash, bangers and mash, ale, a pint of purple grape mash wine, or a pint of superior red dragon crush wine. It's all listed here, so this is what's served in the tap room down below. Now, the inn itself is owned by Urwin and Danica Martikoff, and they have 2 young boys that are 8 and 12, Bray and Brom. And what's interesting here, and we'll take a look real quick, here's Danica. She's down in the tap room right here, and we have Urwin in the kitchen, is if Danica or Urwin happen to overhear the party discussing adventure, they're going to offer a party a quest. It's the quest for wine. Now, they're looking for someone to help them out, and if your parties look like the adventuring type, they'll offer you this particular quest. Urwin will ask the players to step back here in the wine storage area, which is located right behind the tap room right here, and he's going to say to the party, "Our wine supply is nearly empty, and our next shipment is overdue. I can gladly pay you what I can, and might also have something to aid you on your quest or adventuring in Barovia. The vineyard is southwest from here. If you take the road to the west, you'll come to the crossroad that leads to the next village of Crest. If you head south of the crossroad, you'll run into the winery and the vineyard, and you can ask for Davian, who owns and operates the winery." Now, if the players go on this quest, find out what's delaying the supplies, and bring back the wine, the players will be rewarded with, Urwin will reward the players with one of the fortunes of Ravenloft. Now, if you've used the fortune teller reading with Madame Ava, it is highly likely that one of the fortunes of Ravenloft are here hidden in the Blue Water Inn, and this is a way that the players can get that item. In addition, what I've added is the Bag of Tricks. The Bag of Tricks, which is actually part of the treasure in the Loft, the Ravenloft, the Raven's Loft here in the Blue Water Inn, is a wondrous item. And I thought, hey, you know what? This might be also in addition to or as a separate reward item to give to the players. It's a really fun and cool item for the players to have. There's another important note here that if the players do this quest, they will earn Urwin's respect, and he will share and discuss with them privately his feelings of opposition towards Strahd and share with them the coveted secret of the Keepers of the Feather, the secret order of were-ravens. And let's talk about that for a second. We have here, this is the family tree. I'll jump to that in a second. Who are these Keepers of the Feather? Well, it's a secret society of were-ravens. So instead of becoming werewolves, a were-raven becomes a raven. And this secret society opposes Strahd. Now, the way I see this secret society is they're more of like a commando spy operation. They know they do not have the power or forces to go toe-to-toe in open combat with Strahd, but they can gather information and attempt small commando raids that can disrupt Strahd's plans or some of his minions and cause him some harassment. Because of this important intelligence and because of who they are, they maintain absolute secrecy. They will not share with anybody that they are a were-raven, let alone this secret order, the Keepers of the Feather. They don't trust anyone. So this player quest is important because it will prove to Urwin that they're trustworthy and that they're willing to help out, and that's why he shares this information. Now, what's important here is Urwin and his wife, Danica, and the two boys are not only members, they are all were-ravens as well. And you're going to start noticing a raven motif throughout the Blue Water Inn. They've already probably spotted the ravens on the gables and on the roof of the Blue Water Inn. You're going to see more ravens and ravens motif throughout the Blue Water Inn, which are just more clues reminding that there's something with ravens tied to the Blue Water Inn. Now, there are two leaders for the were-ravens. Urwin Mardikoff is the actual leader here. The headquarters of the Keepers of the Feather, the secret society, is here at the Blue Water Inn, and he's the leader. But there's a second in command known as the Masters of Feather, and that's Muriel Venshaw. Now, Muriel Venshaw, I see her as like kind of the head of the spying intelligence gathering operations, maybe a couple of commando things on her own. She's second in command. If something happens with Urwin or if something needs to be decided in the field, she will make that decision. She's most likely going to other were-ravens, collecting information and bringing it back here and having private conversations with Urwin about the order and who they can trust, looking for allies. That's how I see her role. Now, she has another secret, even a greater secret that not even Urwin or the Keepers of Feather know. She's been employed by the herbalist outside of Vallaki, who is secretly the Forest Fae. Now, there's the Fae quest, the Forest Fae or the Barovian Fae quest. It's not included in here. That's going to be a separate video, separate module. But Muriel's very important here because the the herbalist, who's the Force Fae, has enlisted Muriel's reconnaissance and her help. The Force Fae knows that Muriel's a member of the Keeper of the Feather. The Force Fae knows that Muriel is a were-raven. The Force Fae also knows that the Keepers of the Feather oppose Strahd. And the Force Fae herself opposes Strahd. The Force Fae has asked Muriel to fly to each of the different Fae shrines. There's 3 of them. They've been desecrated by Strahd. There's one in Yester Hill, there's one in Berez, and then there's one behind the windmill or the bone grinder. And she's asked Muriel to fly by them periodically to check on them, to find out if anything's happening and to see anything, because the Force Fae too is looking for allies, looking to restore these shrines. So Muriel's really serving 2 masters. She's secretly serving the Force Fae, giving the Force Fae information on the shrines, flying to the 3 shrines. Excuse me. And while she's doing that, she's gathering information on Strahd and Strahd's minions and sharing that information to Urwin, the leader of the Keepers of the Feather. So she's a very interesting character. Now, a couple of important things to note about Muriel. The players have already seen Muriel but don't know it. When the players went by the windmill, whether they engaged with the bone grinder or went by it, they did notice the crows there, or the ravens. And one of those ravens was Muriel. She was there checking on the shrine behind the windmill, and she happened to see the adventurers. So she has reported back to Urwin about the adventurers. So Urwin knows that there's some adventurers, pretty much probably knows their makeup, may know a couple of things that have happened to the adventurers from everything after the windmill going forward. So she's been keeping an eye on the players. It is highly likely that the players will run into her again at the 3 different shrines. She will be in raven form when she's in Berez or Yester Hill or at one of the 3 shrines. She won't be in her human form. She will only take on her human form while she's in the Blue Water Inn, or if she's revealed herself to the players, she will reveal her human form. But they will see her here in her human form. Now, I wanted to also talk a little bit about the Martikov family and the extended family, because they're going to send you to the Wizards of Wine. It's important to touch a little bit about the family. So I put the family tree in here for the DM to take a look at. And the father, the patriarch, the grandfather, I guess if you will, of it is the owner of the Wizards of Wine, Davian Martikov. And Davian had 4 children, 3 sons and 1 daughter. His oldest son is Adrian, who manages the vineyard, the winery actually, the Wizards of Wine winery. His second oldest son had left and started the Blue Water Inn. That's Urwin, gotten married to Danica. They have 2 children, Brom and Bray. His daughter, Stefania, has married Dag. They live in the vineyard, and they have 3 children. Martin and Vigo are the oldest. They work on the vineyard. Their young daughter, Yolanda, is there as well. And then there's the young son, the youngest of the Martikov children, which is Elver, and he helps at both the vineyard and the winery. Now, there's an important backstory here that I wanted to flesh out a little bit about the Keepers of the Feather. So Davion used to be the leader of the Keeper of the Feathers. In fact, all of the Martikovs, including Urwin, used to live at the vineyard. That's where the Martikov family have grown up, living there. Urwin left. He realized that he's not going to inherit the vineyard. It would probably go to Adrian, the winery will go to Adrian, and the vineyard will go to his sister. So he's ventured off, got married, and opened up the Blue Water Inn in the village of Lockie. And of course, he supports the family by buying wine and serving the wine from the winery there. But Davion, his father, got kind of older and senile, a little cantankerous in his attitude, and has been having problems with the vineyard. And the Keepers of the Feather have made their headquarters at the Blue Water Inn. And Urwin has really vested a lot of time in the Keepers of the Feather in this whole operation against Strahd. And the Keepers of the Feather decided it was time to change leadership. And they voted to make Urwin the leader for 2 reasons. Number one is he's devoted to the cause and the headquarter operations in the Blue Water Inn. A central location, it's really important. Meanwhile, Davion is becoming more senile. This shift in power, making Davion's younger son, who is in in the village of Vlaki, the leader of the Keeper of the Feathers, really kind of soured the relationship between Urwin and his father. In addition, Adrian was kind of frustrated as well because the Keeper of the Feathers headquarters had always been, as long as anybody can remember, at the Wizards of Wines, and Adrian, thinking that his brothers left and set up this Blue Water Inn, that Adrian would be the natural heir and leader of the Keepers of Feathers. But the Keepers of Feathers have shifted. The Blue Water Inn has been a great base of operation, keeping track of the politics in Vallaki, closer track of the Vistani, keeping eyes on the comers and goings, getting rumors. So they've made the Blue Water Inn their headquarters. So that is one of the reasons why Urwin, when he sends the players to the Wizards of Wines, doesn't bother to share with them that it's his father. And it's the other reason why he hasn't gone there himself. In fact, Urwin may be thinking that the reason the shipment's late to me is my relationship with my father and my older brother is kind of, well, teetered a little bit. It's under stress, and maybe I'm not a priority anymore, and the wine's coming is just coming late. Davion and Adrian, all of, by the way, everybody on the family tree are were-ravens. All of them are members of the Keeper of the Feather. It's just that Urwin is now the leader. So I hope that kind of explains that. I hope that was helpful. So let's go ahead and jump into the map and talk about the different rooms here. The first room we're going to talk about is the tap room, and it's a central location here. We have the tap room here. We got these nice tables. We've got the bar, and some people sitting in here. Now, and I've written a description in here. One of the things that I wanted to do in the tap room that I thought was important was making sure every time the players come here, there's different people enjoying a meal or having a drink there. So I created a Blue Water Patron table that you can go ahead and roll that will go ahead and swap out, who's in there at any given time. So you can just roll this and it's going to load up and tell you who's in there at any given time. So there's a Vallaki villager, there's a were-raven in disguise, there's Raleigh the blacksmith, his assistant Horik, another Vallaki villager, and Rictavio. So you can go ahead and preload up who's in the tap room at any one time. Here we got Carl, the two Walker boys, Rictavio, our were-raven in disguise. So every time you roll this, it's going to be, slightly different here. So you can go ahead and, well, we got another different, let's see. There we go. We've got the two wolf hunters and Muriel. So I made this so you can go ahead and do this unless you want to go ahead and stock it up yourself. You're more than welcome to. Now, I've included some players in the modules to put in there in the tap room. And I want to review them really quickly because they're important as they're tying into different quests. So two of the people that you might find in there is Carl and his brother Nikolai. These are the Walker boys. They're nobles. They're kind of spoiled. They're drunkards. They're the daughters of Lady Walker. They get away with quite a bit in town, but they're always drinking. They're either here at the Blackwater Tavern or in the tap room at the Blue Water Inn. And they are suspects in the murder of Yolanda from the Stockyard. If you haven't watched that video or that guide, the Stockyard has the murder of Yolanda and they're suspects. So if your players are looking for them, they might be here and they can question them here. The next group that might be here that I added in here was Horik Ginch and Raleigh. Raleigh is the blacksmith. Horik is his assistant. Again, Horik is a suspect in the murder, so you might find them here. You can question them here. That's a possibility. You also have the two wolf hunters. So these are two people that might be here. In fact, I have them on the screen right now. They're down here in the corner. The wolf hunters also have their shop called the Trapped Paw, where they sell hunting equipment. They're also willing to be guides. If you're looking for a guide, they'll be willing to guide you around out in the forest. But they're wolf hunters, so they're both there. You might also run into Ernst. Ernst is a spy for Lady Valker. He sometimes is here. He's also a suspect in the murder. You have Muriel here, which we spent and talked about at length. She is the were-raven. When she's here, she's usually sitting at the bar, maybe talking to Danica. Sometimes she's helping out if the tavern gets full by serving some food and helping Danica here. So people see her as a friend, Danica's friend. You have Rictavio that is the stranger staying here. He's interesting. We'll be talking about Rictavio here in a bit. I also put a village guard. You never know when a Vallaki guard might show up because there might be, you might have some rough and tumble action happening in there. we have the Vallaki villager, and I made a female villager. But the female villager, just to make it simple for you as a DM, if it's the female villager, it's the were-raven member of the Keepers of Feather in disguise. So the female villager is the were-raven, the male villager is the villager. And I did that just to make it easy for you as the DM to say, okay, I know this one's the disguised were-raven in there. The other thing I added in here is I put in some Vallaki lore. I have a lore table in here. So if you're asking Danica or maybe one of the villagers are in here, you can go ahead and roll from this table, and it just brings up some different random lore that can share with the players. For instance, the wolves and dire wolves prowl the woods, aren't afraid to attack travelers on the old road. Well-known groups of hunters and trappers have managed to kill several of the woods, but more keep on coming. Let's do another one in here. It's too dangerous to go fishing on the lake. The threat of the wolves haven't stopped. Bluto, he's the town drunk. He's from trying. He sets out each morning. He hasn't caught anything in a while. That might lead the players to Bluto and the Lake Zarovich. That also has a nice, cool Gitrog cave, Gitrog adventure that we've added in there. In addition, we have, let's do the Shoemaker, which is the shoemaker, made fun of the vessel. Some believe he's being held at the Burgermeister's mansion and being tortured. So this leads into the Shoemaker quest, which starts out of St. Andrew's out there, rescue the Shoemaker. So there's some lore here. You can roll on this lore table that helps your players with some information they can learn in the tap room. The second room we're going to talk about really quick here is the wine storage. I briefly covered that. This is the room that Urwin will take them into and have a conversation with them. The exit, one of the things that you're going to notice in the tavern itself is a lot of the doors will be barred shut. Remember, Urwin is hyper-protective. Not only his kids live here, but being the leader of the Keepers of the Feather, he just wants to make sure that everything is secured. So these doors are going to be barred shut from the inside, but he will invite the players through these doors, through the kitchen, to come discuss and give them their quest. So this is where the quest for the wine will start here. The next room is a room that you wouldn't think is important, but I've made it significantly important, and that's the kitchen. Why is the kitchen so important? Well, Urwin is the leader of the Keeper of the Feathers, and the Blue Water Inn is their headquarters. Now, he's always in here cooking when people are out there in the tap room eating. He's cooking food. His wife is serving drinks. What better place to have secret conversations with your Keeper of the Feathers spies? In fact, your number 2, your Master of Feathers, Muriel, she's here. She can easily walk in here while you're cooking, stand next to you, and she could be giving you information of what she saw, maybe what's going on with Strahd or his minions, or about the party themselves. So this is a great location for the commander, the leader of the Keeper of the Feathers, to have meetings with his spies. And he's doing this all under the obfuscation in plain sight that he's the cook. And nobody will question that Muriel goes in there because they've seen her helping Danica serve drinks. Maybe she comes back out with a serving of some venison stew for some villagers here. And so they think she's just helping out, having no idea that the leader of this secret society, this were-raven, is meeting with her in the kitchen. It also makes sense. I mean, he's barred the outside door. He has 2 doors here, but there's a secret door in the kitchen. Why would there be a secret door in the kitchen? It leads to this small hallway and stairs that lead upstairs so he can escape. And this perfectly makes sense if this room was to be the leader of the secret rebellious group against Strahd, the Keeper of the Feathers, where he would be meeting with his spies and his network here while he's cooking. He could just be cooking and discussing operations. It kind of reminds me of, a lot of those gangster movies or those mafia movies or The Godfather, where they're in the kitchen and they're discussing their plans of going to the mattresses or raiding the Tagalog family or something like that, or in Sopranos, where they're in the at the restaurant or in the pork store where they're meeting and having coffee. He's doing the same thing right here. He's in the kitchen, the leader of the secret organization, meeting with his capos, the Master of the Feathers. And he has a secret escape room, a secret door to the escape to the upstairs. All right, let's check out the other room. There's some other rooms in here. You can see they're all marked on the map. But the ones I want to really cover, the important ones here, is the stable. The stable has a horse in it. That horse belongs to Rictavio. We'll talk about that in a second. There's another 2 stables in here. You can keep their horses. There's a ladder up to the hay loft, which we will cover. Notice here's some raven feathers here. This raven motif, again, will reveal itself throughout everywhere in here. Now that's the ground floor. There's 2 outbuildings here. There's one storing some wood. There's another outbuilding over here. And then you have a well right here. In addition, there's 2 staircases. There's an outside staircase that leads up to the guest rooms. It makes sense to have it outside so they don't disturb the tap room, or they don't just have to go through the tap room. Also, if they have to leave earlier at night, or if they have to go to the stables, they have their own private entrance. The indoor stairwell goes up to the grand balcony that leads to the bedrooms of the Martikov, their son, and also a private room. And with that said, let's go to the first floor, or if you're in the States, the second floor. So we have the tap room here, and there's a balcony on both sides. There's the great balcony and the guest balcony here. Now, what's interesting about these 2 balconies, this balcony comes up from the tap room, leads to the master bedroom and the bedroom in the private room over here, whereas the outdoor stairs leads up to the guest balcony and the 3 rooms, the guest bedrooms here. We're going to talk about this creature right here, this part of the demonic possession, in a second. One of the interesting things to keep with that raven motif throughout here that the players will see is if they're on the balcony, they're going to see wood carvings of these raven motif that's along the balcony on both sides of the balcony here. They're going to see that raven motif, which I have an image here which you can share with your players. So you want to emphasize this ravens. They're going to see the ravens on top on the gables. They're going to see the raven feathers in the stable. They're going to see these raven motifs throughout here. They're going to realize ravens, there's something to do with ravens here. Let's go and check out the guest bedrooms here. I'm just going to get rid of our demon here for a second. We'll do that in a bit. Again, we have the 2 nice bedrooms over here. We got the guest room here. The guest room has foot lockers in them. They also have windows with shutters which can lock, and a door that locks. These are 2 bedrooms. So there's two bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. You got what I'm saying. Then there's the bug room with 4 beds here. Again, windows and the shutters all lock up tight. And then there's the balcony that looks down over the tap room. Now on the other side, off the great balcony, we have the private master bedroom of the Martikovs. And what's interesting about this room is this is just for appearances. Remember, the Martikovs are all were-ravens, and they prefer to sleep in their raven form, and they'll be up inside the attic. There's a raven's nest up there, and at night they sleep in raven form. So these rooms are just for appearances. Now, what's interesting about this room is there's a secret door that leads to the hayloft right here, and there's a trap door in the ceiling that leads up to the secret attic, which they sleep in when they take raven form at night. When we get to the boys' room, it's fairly similar. The boys' room has a secret trap door in the ceiling where they take raven form again. They sleep up in the attic. And there's some toys in here, obviously some Blinsky dolls, and the kids' beds are in here. We also have the hallway with the secret door. This is the stairway that goes down to the kitchen. So if Urwin needs to make a quick exit or Muriel needs to make a quick exit, they go through the secret door. They come upstairs through this secret door. They're in the hallway upstairs, and they can either go into the boys' room or in this room, enter into the loft or up into the attic, take raven form, and flee. So this is just a secret kind of escape entrance, escape way for if there's a problem for, especially for Urwin. Now the last room up here is this single private bedroom. We're going to talk about this private guest bedroom here. This is Rictavio's room. Rictavio has rented this room. He's made this his temporary home. He keeps his horse down in the stable, which we saw. If you've looked up the stockyard, he has his carnival wagon there. And you're going to find Rictavio in one of 4 places. He's either, during the daytime, he's either in his room here, sitting on his table or study writing, or he's going to be in the tap room. If it's not in the daytime, if it's in the evening, in the evening time, he's either going to be feeding his horse down in the stable, or he's going to be with a wolf stake, and he's going to be over at his carnival wagon in the stockyard. And so that ties the stockyard again back into here. Now the players aren't going to find anything really interesting in this room. The footlocker is locked, but if they unlock it, they're just going to find clothes in here. But you're going to notice on the table right here, there's a red journal right here. And if they pick up that red journal, it's going to be odd. It's an item they can take, loot they can take, and it relates to his travels as entertainer. It contains some interesting and some odd comments about some entertainment. The hair child, a half-orc woman, a giant man-eating plant. But they're going to notice that the writing and the organization of the journal seems really odd. If the players decide to investigate the journal on a DC 15 check, they're going to realize the journal is written in code, and it's a private journal with some notes on the people of various members of Vallaki. Now, what's interesting is the beginning of the journal, he mentions somebody named Esmeralda that saved him from the dungeons. If it wasn't for her, he would be dead. It also says here is he decided his best course of action was to disguise himself as Rictavio, a performer, taking refuge in the village of Vallaki, hiding among the villagers. I continue to seek out allies, and in my attempt to bring down the greatest of all vampires, Strahd. So there's a huge reveal here that this Esmeralda helped him escape being in a dungeon. He is somebody else. We don't know who he is. All it says is he's in disguise as Rictavio, and he's looking for allies to take down Strahd. So that's a huge reveal to the players. What's also interesting is this journal has notes about various people in the village. Baron Vargas, his son Victor, Lady Valker, Ernst, Willy von Holtz, Anya, the Martikovs, the tailor Isaac, and Father Petrovich. So he's been keeping detailed notes about who he can trust or who he can't trust in this journal. So if the players investigate, they're going to realize they have a wealth of important information on their hands. What's interesting in here is he knows there's something interesting about the Martikovs, but he doesn't know what it is yet. So he doesn't even know about the Keepers of Feather in here at all. But they know a lot about him. So that's what's in his room. A really cool find in there if they find that in there. Now let's go to the loft here. We have the loft, which is the Raven's Loft. Now the players go up the hayloft. They're going to see all these ravens in here. And of all the dozens of ravens in here, I would guess 1d4 to 1d6 are actually were-ravens. The rest are normal ravens. Now buried underneath this hay, there's a treasure chest. And if the players tamper with or trying to open it, 4 swarms of ravens will swoop in and begin attacking the players until they leave the chest alone. Now if they continue to attack, Urwin Martikov and 2 were-ravens in human form will arrive to find out what all the commotion is. He's going to try to de-escalate the situation, tell the players, hey, this is my chest, leave it here, it doesn't belong to you. Try to de-escalate this situation. If they do happen to open up the chest, the players are going to find some gold in here. I made the gold random, 1d100 plus 100, so it's like 152. You can roll it whatever you want to. 2 elixirs of health, 3 potions of healing, and the bag of tricks. You remember the bag of tricks was also that reward item if they did the wine quest, but if not, it's being held up here in here. So that's it for the second floor. Now let's go ahead and look at the attic. The attic is the last place. Now you'll notice, remember I mentioned the trapdoors above the master bedroom and the trapdoor above the boys' room. You're going to see that there's 4 nests in here. You're already going to see that there's ravens in here, and these ravens are the Martikov family. Now, if the players come up here and the Martikov family are in raven form, the mama and papa ravens are going to harass the players to allow the kids to escape. There's a little hole here just big enough for the ravens to fly out of the attic and escape, and then the mother and papa raven will fly out behind them. That's if the players come up here and don't know that they're ravens, don't know about the Keepers of the Feather, and surprise them up here at night. Now you'll notice also that there is a treasure chest here, and in here in this treasure chest is the following items. There's thieves' tools. There's also 1d20 plus 5 Strahd coins. The Strahd coins are worth 100 gold each, has a picture of Strahd on them. There's also 3 potions of healing and 1d4 plus 2 jewelry. This is with some gems and gold. They're worth 250 gold each. Now, if the players decide to steal from either the 2 treasure chests, this one or the one in the hayloft, they're going to be at odds with the Marty Coughs and be at odds with the Keeper of the Feathers. They're not going to be trusted. So, it's how your players are going to play this. And the players may never even find this attic. My players never found this attic. So its chances are they may not find it. So let's go ahead and talk about the demonic encounter. And let's bring that up right here. So we have the encounter. Here it is. This is the demon here. And let's bring the demon into play. Here he is right here. Where's our demon? There's our demon. We'll put him right here. Yeah, let's shut this and bring this over here. So we have our demon. We have our demonic encounter right here. And let's talk about this demon here. So the demon, I'll tell you a little backstory about the demon, and the players can learn this backstory either through the Abbot and Kresk or Father Petrovich, who, if the Father Petrovich attempts some exorcism, he'll try to speak to the demon. Or if the players try to speak to the demon after it's possessed the player, they'll learn the story. So the demon's name is Arphaxat. Now, Arphaxat is a demon released from the Amber Temple. A nun from the Abbey became obsessed with the dark powers. She went and visited the Amber Temple. She came back possessed by this demon. St. Martikov exorcised the demon out of her. The demon was trapped in Barovia and has been roaming, searching for another victim to possess. Now, the players can learn the story, as I mentioned before, but how does this possession actually work? A little side note, Arphaxat is actually was a wizard or sorcerer with St. Matthew, who later was believed to be the demon that possessed some nuns in like the 1600s. There's actually a whole historical mythical story about this particular demon name, which I thought was pretty interesting. I'll put a little reference to it later on, so you guys, if you're interested in reading about it. So how does this encounter start? Well, during the long rest here in one of these rooms here in the Blue Water Inn, during their long rest, you're going to ask the players to roll a Constitution saving throw. Now, one of the things that there's a saying that authors have says, show, don't tell. You want to show the players what's happening. Let the actions reveal themselves. Don't tell them a demon appears and it's possessing. Let the action reveal everything. So you're going to ask them all to roll a Constitution saving throw while there's a long rest. They just do it. Now, the lowest roller is going to be the target that's being possessed. Any one of the players that fails the saving throw, which is a DC 15, again, you're not telling the players what the DC number is. If they fail the DC 15 Constitution save, all you're going to tell them is you're having these nightmares and these demonic dreams. The players that succeed the saving throw are going to be awake. So you're going to have players in three states. One that's going to be the target of the possession, players that failed the Constitution saving throw that's having a demonic dream, and the players that succeeded the Constitution saving throw that are awake. So let's talk about each of these three player states. The first player state is the targeted player. The demon is going to attempt to possess this player. The demon is going to hover over this player, and the demon's mouth is going to open. This black smoke is going to emanate, and the player's is in a catatonic state. Its mouth will open. This black smoke will start going into the player. And this is the possession process. This is how the demon's going to possess the player. It's going to take 4 turns of the demon doing this before the player becomes possessed. If the demon is successful in doing this, the demon itself will disappear and be inside the body of the possessed player. Now, during the player's turn, when the player is being possessed, during their turn, they get to roll a Constitution saving throw. It's a DC 20. They need a Constitution saving throw, DC 20, to break this possession process. The second group of players is the demonic dreams. People that fail their Constitution save, they're going to be in a demonic dream. And they're going to have these horrible nightmares that they're going to believe are real. And they're not going to be able to wake up from it, and other players will not be able to wake them up. At the end of their turns, they can roll a Constitution saving throw. It needs to be a DC 15. If they succeed the DC 15 Constitution saving throw, they're going to wake groggy. They're going to try to be getting their bearings. They can only move their first turn. They're going to be able to make 10 feet of movement. They're not going to know what's really going to happen. depending on the level of your party, how many are awake, what's going on, you as a DM may wish to have the players in their first attack roll at disadvantage. They wake up groggy, they don't know what's going on, they had this horrible nightmare. All of a sudden they see this demon in their room, they don't know if the nightmare is still real or not. You want to create this kind of catatonic dream, wake, nightmare scenario that they're trying to get their bearings. They don't know what's reality and what's not at this point. The players that made successful Constitution save, are awake, and they're going to be seeing this demon hovering over, the black smoke going out of the demon's mouth into the mouth of the player. They're going to look over at the other players in their demon dreams, and these players, their faces are going to be twisted in fear. They're going to be crying. And the player's not going to be able to wake them up. Now, you can attack the demon. Any player that's awake can attack the demon. And the players are probably going to try to realize what the fuck's going on, right? I mean, this black smoke's coming out. You could probably have them roll a religion or arcana check. I'd probably make it DC 12 on the religion, maybe DC 15 on arcana. It's up to you to realize this is a demon trying to take a possession. This is a possession happening. You've never seen it before, but you've heard about it. You surmise that's what's happening. In order to stop the possession per turn, it takes 4 turns, they need to break that connection, that black smoke. Now, the demon is immune to being restrained, it's immune to being grappled, it's immune to being paralyzed, it's immune to being petrified, it's immune to being knocked prone. So the players are going to have to think creatively. Maybe they can grab the player and pull the player away from the demon and break that smoke chain. Maybe they can knock the demon back away from it, or do something to break that smoke bond that demon's going through, break that position. The players can go ahead and attack the demon if they want to as well with their spells and their weapons, like any other creature. Now, let's talk about the demon. The demon has multiple attack, and I'm going to bring up the demon stats right here, and we'll talk about it. The demon has multiple attacks, and one of the attacks is going to be, the action is the possession right here. He's going to be trying to possess the player. Now, if the demon is not possessing the player, if the players have managed to pull the player away and break that bond, the demon's going to use one of its actions to re-engage that bond, to get that possession process happening again, where the black smoke is coming out, going into the player's mouth. So that's going to be one of its actions. Now, the demon can make one attack while it's doing the possession process. And these are the 3 attacks. The first attack it can do is called the Dark Force Slam. Let's talk about this attack. The demon raises one of its hands and aims his hands at one of the targets. Black smoke hurls out from the demon's hands towards the target, and the target's going to take 3d6 of force damage, and the target has to make a dex save of a DC 14 to avoid being pushed back 10 feet. This is a ranged attack, up to 15 feet range attack. The black smoke that's coming out, it raises its arm up and shoots this black smoke from its hands to do a force attack against another target. The demon also has demonic visage. So it can cast this, and this is an area effect, 60 feet area effect. Any creature within 60 feet that sees the demon must succeed a DC 14 wisdom saving throw, or they become frightened for 1 minute. If the save fails by rolling a natural 1, the target's going to age 1d4 times 10. It's going to lose 1 constitution point and 1 strength ability point. Now, the aging effect and the loss of 1 constitution and the loss of 1 strength can be reversed and restored with greater restoration spell, but it must be done within 24 hours. This is a pretty mean. I mean, if they roll a natural 1, it's not going to go well for them. They're going to lose strength and constitution, as well as they're going to age, up to 40 years. I mean, it might be, anywhere from 10 to 40 years they're going to age really quickly. And that's represented in the loss of constitution and the loss of 1 strength. That's how it takes place. The other attack it makes is the telekinetic power. The demon will target an object or creature of 150 pounds and hurl that object or creature 30 feet in any direction. Now, if the target is a creature, it must make a strength save versus a DC 14. If it fails, that creature will be hurled 30 directions in any direction and take 1d6 worth of bludgeoning damage. Now, if the target is hurled at another creature, so for instance, if I'm the demon and I'm going to hurl that table over there at you, you can make a dex save, DC 14, to avoid being hit by that table. But I could hurl, it's very possible the demon hurls another player at you. He could take a 150-pound player, hurl it at another player, and if he's successful, the demon's successful, both players are going to slam into each other, and both players are going to take 1d6 worth of damage. In addition, the demon can use its telekinetic power to shut all the windows, shutters, doors, and lock them as one action. Just all the doors go, and doors shut and lock. Or it can move objects to block entrances or door. I mean, be as creative as you want to with this telekinetic power. So those are the three powers that the demon can do, attacks, that the demon can do as it's using its possession. So it's doing its possession. You'll notice each one of these three powers, the demonic visage, the dark force slam, and the demonic and the telekinetic power, the demon doesn't have to touch anybody. It can do all of these things as range spells or range types of attacks or range types actions. Now it has a fourth attack. The fourth attack it can do, but it can't do while it's using its black smoke demonic possession, and that is its demonic life drain. And it needs to touch a creature, and if it touches a creature, it does 2d8 necrotic damage. The target must do a DC 14 Constitution save, or those hit points, maximum hit points, are reduced by the amount of damage that it takes. The reduction lasts until the player takes another long rest. So that's the demonic life drain, but it has to touch a player, and it cannot be using its possession state. So if it's not using one of the actions to try to possess the player, it can make 2 of any of these 4 attacks on any of the players. So it has 2 attacks or 1 possession and 1 attack. So what happens if the player becomes possessed? Let's talk about that. The player's eyes turn black. The player will only be able to speak in abyssal or telepathy up to 120 feet. The player will retain all its powers. The players will become chaotic evil, and players are going to have to enact chaotic evil. The player will not agree to help do anything to aid the other players unless it means killing something. The player will not initiate combat or attack other players unless one of them begins to attack the player first. However, the player will attack any creature that threatens or harms the possessed player. It will register as evil when the detect evil spell is used. It will react violently to holy water. It will take 1d8 burning damage if holy water is splashed on him. It will react in fear to holy objects. It must make a charisma save DC 12 or become frightened. It can break any restraint, any leather or rope restraint it can break. To break a single chain restraint, it needs to do a strength check of DC 18. The creature can be subdued, a possessed player can be subdued by 2 players or NPCs with a strength of 18 or more. So it's going to be, you're going to have to subdue them. Now, if the possessed player is fighting, it will fight all the enemy creatures to death. Once the enemy creatures are killed, it will begin to turn on its fellow party members until it is subdued. The possessed player is unable to stop killing once it is started. So players are going to have to figure out how to subdue this player, maybe charm him or do something, put him to sleep or physically subdue him, because once it starts trying to kill, it won't stop. It will use all of its power, strength, weapons, and spells to kill without care to itself or care to others around him. Now, at the end of combat, it's going to realize it's got a lot of stuff on him that it doesn't really need, and it needs to do a wisdom check DC 12. If it fails a wisdom check, the player is going to discard and toss all the items to the ground that do not help him in combat. That includes treasure, food, anything that's not going to help that player in combat, it's just going to discard. It's going to say, this is just useless. The demon's going to go, this is useless. Demon doesn't need money, doesn't care about gold. So how does the exorcism work? If a player is possessed, a cleric that knows turn undead may attempt to exorcise the demon. A cleric will know the process and will know when the demon has been exorcised that there is a chance that a wraith will form an attack. Now, the process will take 4 turns to exorcise this demon out of the player. The demon needs to be, the player needs to be restrained, the cleric to perform this exorcism. Each turn, the cleric's going to roll a d20. It's going to add its charisma modifier and +2 if they're proficient in religion. So +2 if proficient in religion, plus its charisma modifier, and roll a d20. If the cleric fails the exorcism turn, the cleric takes 1d8 worth of psychic damage. Each time the cleric succeeds its exorcism turn, the player who's possessed, they're going to take the 1d8 worth of psychic damage. So either the cleric's taking it because he's failed the turn, or the player is going to take it that's possessed because he's successfully slowly extracting the demon. Now, the DC check is determined by the possessed player's charisma +4 on the first one. And on after the first successful one, it'll be charisma +3, and then charisma +2, and charisma +1. Once it's successfully done its fourth one, which is charisma +1, the cleric does. The cleric, there's a possibility that the demon's going to leave the body, but there's a slight possibility that it might convert itself into a wraith and begin to attack. The cleric's going to roll a 1d20, or you as the DM can roll a 1d20. On a result of a 1 to 5, the demon becomes a wraith and begins to attack the players in the room. On rolls of 6 through 20, the demon just disappears, and the demon will never come back again. It will come back for another adventuring party somewhere else. Now, there's 2 other ways that you can exorcise. You can visit Father Petrovich or Father Donovich. They know how to perform the exorcism, as it is described up here. Or you can visit the abbot in the abbey in Kresk, and he will perform the exorcism. But he does it via a spell that only the abbot knows. And once he does this, the player will become an ally of the abbot, and that player will never, ever attack the abbot again. It has some unique bond by the ally. It's by the abbot. It's not like he's charmed. It's kind of like a weak charm where he won't ever harm the abbot once the abbot's cast a spell getting rid of the demon out of the player. So that's it for the demon possession. All the notes are here. The attack action. We have this new character, which is the demon, all his attributes here. All his attacks and the possessions are all loaded up here. It's a 67 hit points, CR rating 5 in there. And I have him, here he is right here. He doesn't look too, and he has incorporeal movement. It can move through these walls. No problem. Again, if it falls to DC 10, by the way, the demon's going to try to escape. It's going to regain all its hit points, and somewhere in the future, it doesn't have to be the next night, it could be somewhere down the road in your campaign, when your players are taking a long rest, this demon's going to come back if it's gotten away, right? If it escaped during the attack. If it escaped, it's going to come back and try to do it again. So the only way to get rid of the demon for sure is if it's possessed a player and they form an exorcism, or if you kill the demon. Because if the demon escapes, it's going to come back and realize that you guys are, possible vessel for the demon to possess. And it'll go through the same process again. Well, that's it for the Blue Water Inn. I really hoped you enjoyed this detailed guide and enjoyed the demonic possession encounter in the inn, as well as Rictavio's interesting journal. Please hit like and subscribe. I really appreciate you watching these videos. I really appreciate the Patreon members supporting me. You can support me as little as $1 for the PDF guides, or $4 if you're interested in the Foundry Adventure modules. Again, there's a link to the Patreon down below. Please hit like, hit the thumbs up, click the bell icon, so you'll be alerted to the next time a Curse of Strahd campaign guide comes out. Until next time, this is Parm King, and may all your rolls be critically successful.